All right, let's dive into a really fascinating and kind of heavy philosophical mystery that comes straight out of a novel. It poses honestly, this terrifying question: what if you were forced to truly understand the moral weight of every single choice you make?
And the whole thing kicks off with this incredibly eerie line. We find ourselves at Selbourne Hall, this super remote, isolated estate. And the way it's described, it's like the architectural equivalent of a held breath. I mean, wow. It's a place literally built to force you to stop looking out at the world and start looking inside yourself.
So who's our guide on this journey? Meet Professor Vance Marwood. He's a philosopher, and he gets this really strange, very well-paying invitation to come out to the estate. Now, here's the key thing about Marwood. He's working on this unpublished book called The Responsibility of Knowing, and its central idea is pretty heavy. He argues that just by knowing about suffering, you're no longer a bystander. You're actually involved. And this is the question that's just rattling around in his head. And honestly, it's the question that's going to drive this whole explainer for us. His host, this guy, Sir Edmund Selbourne, has made him a promise, a really chilling one. He's promised to show Marwood something that, once he sees it, he can never, ever unsee it. All right, so, Section 1, a house facing nothing. This is all about setting the stage, because everything at Selbourne Hall, the house itself, the mysterious host, the very specific guests he's invited, it's all defined by what they're being forced to look at. And this quote from the host, Sir Edmund, really just nails it. At the very first dinner, he lays it all out for his guests. He basically says, look, every single one of you has stared into what Nietzsche called the abyss. You've felt it staring back. He tells them they've all hit a wall, a deep, dark pit of understanding in their own lives. And his promise, he's going to show them what's waiting at the bottom. So let's talk about the guests. Who exactly did Sir Edmund invite to this philosophical showdown? Well, it's not a random group. It's a very carefully curated collection of people, and every single one of them is haunted by some kind of deep personal crisis. Okay, so let's run through the guest list. Each one represents a very specific kind of abyss. You've got Dr. Helena Vance, a psychologist who can't figure out a killer's motive. There's Colonel Marcus Thorne, a soldier questioning if the sacrifices of war were even worth it. Lily Ashworth, an actress who's played so many roles she's lost herself. Father David Mercer, a priest whose faith is completely shattered. Then there's Madame Celestine, a spiritual medium who's not sure if she's the real deal or a total fraud. James Fell, an academic whose whole career is built on a lie. And of course, our guy, Professor Marwood, whose abyss is the choice between knowing and being guilty or staying ignorant and feeling innocent. All right, Section 3, the question of guilt. And this is where things take a sharp turn. What started as a kind of intellectual retreat suddenly becomes a full-blown psychological thriller. An envelope shows up, and suddenly, everyone's personal crisis becomes a massive collective problem that nobody can escape. And what's in the envelope? This question. Just 5 words. Which of you is guilty? That's it. Guilty of what? There's no crime mentioned, no context, nothing. It's a brilliant, terrifying question because it forces every single person in that room to dig deep into their own conscience and find something to be guilty of. And wow, the confessions that come out are just shocking. We're talking intellectual theft from the academic, a justified lie that led to someone's death from the colonel, professional negligence. The priest confesses to hoarding these horrific stories from the war, almost like a secret collection. There's a vision of a murder, profiting from deception, and then Marwood's own contribution, the complicity of just knowing. One by one, all these secret, buried guilts come pouring out. So what's the point of all this? Well, it all circles back to Sir Edmund's grand theory, which Marwood finds in a book he wrote called The Architecture of Complicity. The big idea is kind of mind-blowing. It's the theory that true innocence is impossible. Every choice we make, no matter how small, connects us to this giant, global web of cause and effect, and a lot of it is harmful. So in a way, we're all complicit. And this quote from the book just cuts right to the heart of it. To see clearly and do nothing is not neutrality. It is participation. Think about that. Sir Edmund is arguing that once you're aware of a problem, once you see how a system is hurting people, choosing to do nothing isn't a neutral act. It's an act of choice. It's participation. Now, you might be thinking, wow, this is incredibly bleak. But here's the thing. Sir Edmund isn't just about pointing out the problem. He actually has a solution,
a process for transformation. He believes that if you can truly accept this idea of universal guilt, you can fundamentally change yourself. And that's what this whole week at the estate is really about. It's a hands-on workshop for that process.
And this process, it's not about getting forgiveness. It's about integration. So the first step is recognition. You have to see the web, accept that nobody's truly innocent. Step 2 is confrontation. You have to face the specific harm you've caused, like in detail. And then the third stage, integration, is the really tricky one. It's about making that guilt a permanent part of your identity, but in a way that doesn't completely crush you. And of course, there are 4 more stages after that.
So, does this actually work? Let's look at the priest, Father Mercer, as a perfect example. Before this whole thing, he was being absolutely crushed by his shattered faith and the awful things he'd heard in confession. But after going through these first few stages, look at the change. He's not suddenly a believer again. The doubt is still there, but he's able to carry it without fighting it. He's no longer at war with himself.
And as he puts it himself, the fight was the problem, not the doubt itself. See, his real suffering wasn't the doubt, it was the constant struggle against it. By just accepting it, integrating it into who he is now, he finds a way to move forward. He can carry that weight without it breaking him.
Okay, on to our final section, the search for a successor. Because this is where we find out the real reason for this whole week-long ordeal. This isn't just some bizarre group therapy session or a philosophical game. No, this is a test. A final exam with stakes that are unbelievably high. And here's the big reveal. Sir Edmund is dying. The whole thing, the house, the weird invitation, the guests, the forced confessions, this whole transformation process, it's all been one giant, elaborate job interview. He's looking for a successor, an heir to take on his life's work. And what is he passing on? He calls it the transmission. And this isn't just a pile of books or some notes. It's something else entirely. It's a direct, experiential passing of his complete understanding from his mind to someone else's. It's a process that can't be written down. It's basically a transfer of consciousness. So who's the prime candidate for this mind meld? Well, it's been Professor Marwood all along. And it makes sense, right? His own work was already circling the same drain of truth. His particular flavor of guilt is the most self-aware and honest of the bunch. He's already done all the intellectual homework. As Sir Edmund puts it, he's the closest to being able to handle it. Which brings us right back to the central, haunting question of this entire story. It's the ultimate test for Marwood, but really it's a question for all of us. If you saw the true, unfiltered weight of your every choice, every ripple effect spreading out into the world, could you bear it? And maybe more importantly, what kind of person would you become if you could?